NINs can cross the blood-brain barrier, the natural barrier that separates the blood from the brain, and neutralize free radicals, directly protecting dopaminergic neurons. A study conducted at the University of Cincinnati demonstrated that mice with Parkinson's-like characteristics given blueberry extract experienced a 40% reduction in dopaminergic neuron loss compared to the control group. But the benefits go beyond antioxidant protection. Blueberries also contain anti-inflammatory compounds that help reduce chronic inflammation in the brain, another crucial factor in Parkinson's progression, and they also increase the expression of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that stimulates the survival of existing neurons and the growth of new ones. How do blueberries improve motor function in Parkinson's? Impressively, research shows that regularly consuming blueberries for at least 8 weeks can significantly improve fine motor coordination in people with Parkinson's. This translates into greater ease in performing tasks such as buttoning a shirt, writing, or using utensils. Many of my patients also report a reduction in morning stiffness after incorporating blueberries into their daily diet. But what's the ideal amount to reap these benefits? Studies suggest that a daily serving of approximately 140 grams of fresh blueberries would be ideal for therapeutic effects. You can eat them plain, add them to yogurt, or make smoothies. However, if you're taking blood-thinning medications, it's important to consult your doctor before significantly increasing your blueberry intake, as they have natural properties that can enhance the effects of these medications.
A practical tip for those who have trouble finding fresh blueberries or find their price prohibitive. Frozen blueberries maintain virtually the same benefits as fresh ones and are usually more affordable. Another alternative is 100% natural blueberry juice with no added sugar. While it's preferable to consume the fruit whole for its fiber content, the juice still offers many of the beneficial compounds.
For people with swallowing difficulties, common in Parkinson's, blueberry smoothies can be an excellent option, as they can be thickened with yogurt or banana for easier consumption. Before we move on to the next food, I want to pause to ask you something important. What time of day do Parkinson's symptoms most affect you or your family member's life? Is it upon waking, when stiffness seems to take over? Or perhaps during meals, when tremors make every bite a challenge? Or is it at night, when sleep simply won't come? This question isn't just out of curiosity, you know? Many people with Parkinson's feel like no one truly understands the invisible challenges they face daily, and you're not alone. Share your experience in the comments. You can simply copy and complete this sentence. My biggest challenge with Parkinson's is when I try. And then your comment could be exactly the information someone else needs to read today to feel understood and less alone. Plus, your comments help us create content more specific to the real struggles you face. Now let's move on to our second food that can bring significant relief to many of the challenges you share. Now let's learn about our second protective food, turmeric, a golden spice that goes far beyond adding color to food. But what makes turmeric so special for people with Parkinson's? Turmeric's active ingredient, curcumin, has extraordinary properties when it comes to protecting the brain. First, curcumin is one of the most potent antioxidants known, capable of neutralizing free radicals that damage dopaminergic neurons. But unlike other antioxidants, curcumin has the unique ability to activate the body's own antioxidant defenses through the NRF2 pathway, functioning as a switch that turns on our internal defense system. But perhaps the most relevant benefit for people with Parkinson's is curcumin's ability to inhibit the aggregation of the alpha-synuclein protein. We now know that the accumulation of these proteins, forming so-called Lewy bodies, is one of the main causes of neuronal death in Parkinson's. Laboratory studies have shown that curcumin can prevent this aggregation process and even help dissolve already formed aggregates. Another fascinating aspect is that curcumin dramatically reduces neuroinflammation, a process that accelerates neuronal degeneration. Research published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation showed that curcumin blocks the activation of glial cells, which are responsible for inflammation in the central nervous system. A clinical study of 50 Parkinson's patients who consumed 1 gram of curcumin daily for 6 months demonstrated a reduction in markers of inflammation and oxidation, as well as a modest but significant improvement in motor scores compared to the placebo group. Some participants also reported improved sleep quality and reduced fatigue, non-motor symptoms that often affect quality of life in Parkinson's. But there's a significant problem with curcumin. It's extremely low bioavailability, meaning our bodies absorb very little of the curcumin we consume. Fortunately, there are ways to increase this absorption. The simplest way is to always consume turmeric with a source of fat and black pepper. Fat is necessary because curcumin is fat-soluble, and the piperine in black pepper can increase its absorption by up to 2,000%. Therefore, the traditional combination of turmeric with coconut oil and a little black pepper in many Asian cuisines is no coincidence. It's a perfect formula for maximizing the benefits. Another option is to opt for curcumin supplements with technologies that increase bioavailability, such as liposomal curcumin or formulations with piperine. As for dosage for therapeutic benefits, studies suggest between 500 milliliters and 1 g of curcumin per day, which is equivalent to approximately 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. A practical way to incorporate turmeric into your daily diet is to prepare the famous golden milk, an ancient Ayurvedic drink. Simply heat a cup of plant-based milk, add half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a pinch of black pepper, a little coconut oil or olive oil, and sweeten lightly with honey if desired. This drink is especially beneficial if consumed before bed, as it can help reduce nocturnal stiffness and improve sleep quality. An important precaution: turmeric in high doses can interact with anticoagulant and antiplatelet medications. Therefore, always consult your doctor before starting a high-dose regimen, especially if you take these medications. Now let's move on to our third protective food, omega-3 rich fish, such as salmon, sardines, tuna, and mackerel. These fish contain high concentrations of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA and EPA, which are essential components for brain health. But what exactly do these fatty acids do for the brains of people with Parkinson's? First, omega-3s are structural components of neuronal membranes, enabling better communication between neurons and increasing the fluidity of these membranes. This is particularly important in Parkinson's, where neuronal communication is compromised. Furthermore, omega-3s are precursors to compounds called resolvins and protectins, substances that actively combat inflammation in the nervous system. A study published in the Journal of Neurochemistry demonstrated that DHA specifically protects dopaminergic neurons in experimental models of Parkinson's, significantly reducing toxin-induced cell death. Research from the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, showed that people with higher blood levels of omega-3s had a lower incidence of Parkinson's, suggesting a preventative role for these nutrients. But the benefits go beyond neuronal protection. People with Parkinson's often struggle with depression, and omega-3s have been shown to have positive effects on mental health in several clinical studies. An observational study with 1,400 participants found that those who consumed more fish had fewer depressive symptoms. Additionally, omega-3s improve cerebral microcirculation, increasing blood flow to areas affected by Parkinson's, which may aid in nutrient delivery and toxin removal. Regarding frequency of consumption, research suggests that consuming fatty fish at least twice a week is associated with significant benefits for patients with neurodegenerative diseases. A serving of approximately 100 grams of fatty fish provides about 1 to 2 grams of long-chain omega-3s. For those who have difficulty consuming fish, there are some alternatives. Seaweed is the primary source of omega-3 in the aquatic food chain, and algae oil supplements are available for vegetarians and vegans. As for fish oil supplements, if you choose this route, look for products certified to ensure they are free of contaminants like mercury, and choose those with a higher concentration of DHA. An important tip for preparing fish for people with Parkinson's who have motor difficulties: opt for recipes that don't require complicated deboning, such as salmon fillets, rather than fish with many small bones. Another practical option is canned sardines and tuna, which are ready to eat and are excellent sources of omega-3. For those with difficulty swallowing, one alternative is to include fish in purees or pâté, which are easier to swallow. And a point that few doctors mention but which makes all the difference is cooking method. Avoid frying fish, as high temperatures can destroy some of the omega-3s. Prefer to prepare it baked, steamed, or en papillote, methods that better preserve these essential nutrients. Now let's explore our fourth protective food: cruciferous vegetables, such as broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and arugula. These vegetables are true natural pharmacies for those living with Parkinson's, thanks to a very special component called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is a compound that directly activates the transcription factor NRF2, considered the main regulator of our body's antioxidant system. When activated, NRF2 triggers the production of antioxidant enzymes that combat oxidative stress, one of the main culprits in the progression of Parkinson's disease. A study published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation demonstrated that sulforaphane significantly reduces the activation of immune cells in the brain called microglia, which, when overactive, contribute to the chronic neuroinflammation seen in Parkinson's. Furthermore, researchers at Johns Hopkins University found that sulforaphane protects dopaminergic neurons from toxins that would normally damage them, which is particularly relevant to Parkinson's. But it's not just neurons that benefit. There is growing evidence that cruciferous vegetables improve mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of cells, and their malfunction is a major factor in Parkinson's disease. Sulforaphane appears to rejuvenate these mitochondria, improving their function and preventing oxidative damage. Furthermore, cruciferous vegetables are rich in folate, a vitamin crucial for homocysteine metabolism. High homocysteine levels are associated with a higher risk and faster progression of Parkinson's disease. A study of over 130,000 people followed for 20 years found that those with higher cruciferous vegetable intake had a significantly lower risk of developing Parkinson's disease. As for the ideal amount, studies suggest that consuming at least 3 to 5 servings of these vegetables per week can offer significant neurological protection. One serving is roughly equivalent to 1 cup of raw cruciferous vegetables or half a cup cooked. But there's an important detail about preparing these vegetables. Sulforaphane isn't readily available in cruciferous vegetables. It's formed when an enzyme called myrosinase interacts with a precursor called glucosinolate. When you cut or chew these vegetables, this chemical reaction occurs. To maximize sulforaphane production, it's recommended to chop the vegetables and let them rest for about 10 minutes before cooking. Another tip is to avoid overcooking them, as extreme heat can destroy both the enzyme and the active compound. Light steaming for 3 to 4 minutes is ideal for preserving nutrients. For those with swallowing or chewing difficulties, common in Parkinson's, an alternative is to prepare creamy soups or green smoothies with these vegetables to make them easier to consume. One strategy I teach my patients with more severe tremors is to freeze small cubes of broccoli puree, which can be easily added to soups or sauces without the need for elaborate preparation. For people with Parkinson's who suffer from constipation, another common symptom of the disease, cruciferous vegetables offer an additional benefit because they are rich in fiber, which helps with bowel regularity. And there is growing evidence of the gut-brain connection in Parkinson's, suggesting that gut health may directly influence disease progression. Let's now talk about our 5th neuroprotective food, walnuts and other oilseeds like chestnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. Recent studies have shown that oilseeds are true powerhouses of essential nutrients for the brain health of people with Parkinson's. A study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease evaluated more than 4,800 people over the age of 65 and found that those who regularly consumed nuts had better cognitive function and a lower risk of cognitive decline. But what makes nuts so special for those with Parkinson's? First, they are rich in antioxidants like vitamin E and polyphenols that combat oxidative stress in the brain. Vitamin E, in particular, has been linked to protection against neurodegeneration in several studies. Walnuts, specifically, are the oilseed with the highest amount of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids. A study from the University of Barcelona demonstrated that these fatty acids reduce inflammatory markers and increase levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which promotes the survival and differentiation of neurons. Another fascinating component present in nuts is resveratrol, found primarily in chestnuts and peanuts. This compound has demonstrated neuroprotective properties in experimental models of Parkinson's disease through the activation of sirtuins, proteins that regulate cellular aging and stress response. Nuts are also excellent sources of magnesium, an essential mineral that regulates nerve signal transmission and whose deficiency can worsen Parkinson's motor symptoms. They also contain high levels of L-arginine, an amino acid that the body converts into nitric oxide, improving blood circulation, including in the brain. As for the ideal amount to obtain therapeutic benefits, studies suggest consuming approximately 30 grams per day, the equivalent of a handful of mixed nuts. A practical tip for people with Parkinson's who have motor or swallowing difficulties is to opt for nut butters, such as almond butter or cashew paste, which offer the same nutrients but are easier to consume for those with chewing problems. Another strategy is to add ground nuts to smoothies, yogurts, or breakfast cereals. An important and often overlooked aspect is the absorption of nuts' nutrients. To maximize their benefits, soak the nuts in water for 8 hours before consumption. This simple process reduces phytates, substances that can hinder the absorption of important minerals, and also makes the nuts more digestible, which is especially beneficial for people with Parkinson's, who often have sensitive digestive systems. It's important to note that for people with significant tremors that make it difficult to handle small foods, crushed nuts or nuts in flour form can be a practical alternative. I've also recommended that my patients with more advanced Parkinson's disease mix crushed nuts with soft fruits like bananas or avocados, creating a nutritious paste that's easy to consume even with significant motor limitations. Finally, we reach our 6th protective food: berries like strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and cherries. These little treasures of nature contain compounds that act as true shields for neurons affected by Parkinson's. Berries are exceptionally rich in anthocyanins and other polyphenols, with potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. A University of Michigan study demonstrated that cherry extracts significantly reduce markers of inflammation, comparable in effectiveness to anti-inflammatory drugs, but without the side effects. Anthocyanins have a unique ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and act directly on the central nervous system, where they combat oxidative stress specific to dopaminergic neurons. Researchers at Tufts University have discovered that compounds present in berries can inhibit the formation of beta-amyloid plaques and alpha-synuclein aggregates, abnormal proteins associated with neurodegeneration. A particularly interesting study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry showed that mice fed strawberry extracts had significantly better recovery after induced brain injuries, suggesting neuroreparative potential. In addition to their direct neurological benefits, berries are also rich in quercetin, a flavonoid that recent studies suggest may increase the bioavailability of levodopa, the main medication used to treat Parkinson's. This means that consuming berries could potentially improve the medication's effectiveness and reduce the motor fluctuations so common with prolonged levodopa use. Another often overlooked benefit is the high natural melatonin content found especially in cherries. Melatonin is not only the sleep hormone, but also a potent antioxidant with specific neuroprotective properties. Many Parkinson's patients suffer from sleep disorders, and cherries may offer a dual benefit in this regard. As for the ideal dosage, studies show that regularly consuming at least 150 to 200 grams of berries per day is associated with significant neurological benefits. For people with chewing or swallowing difficulties, berries can be easily incorporated into smoothies, purees, or yogurt. A practical tip for those who have difficulty accessing fresh berries, which are often expensive and highly perishable. Frozen versions retain virtually all their bioactive compounds and are generally more affordable. For those in more advanced stages of Parkinson's, with greater motor impairment, preparing berry juices in advance and freezing them in ice cube trays is a strategy that allows for easy and regular consumption without the need for daily preparation. An important note for those taking blood thinners: berries, especially strawberries, can potentiate the effects of these medications. Therefore, it's recommended to consult your doctor before significantly increasing your intake. A detail that's rarely mentioned but makes all the difference. The antioxidant properties of berries are best preserved when consumed raw or minimally processed. Excessive heat can destroy some of the beneficial compounds. And one last tip for Parkinson's patients who frequently experience taste changes and reduced appetite. Berries, with their intense flavor, can help stimulate appetite and make meals more enjoyable. Now that we've learned about these 6 neuroprotective superfoods, let's talk about how to combine them to maximize their effects. An ideal breakfast for someone with Parkinson's could include a berry smoothie with blueberries and a handful of nuts, providing a burst of antioxidants early in the morning when many patients experience the most severe stiffness. For lunch, a portion of grilled salmon accompanied by lightly steamed broccoli would combine the benefits of omega-3s with the power of sulforaphane. And at night, a creamy cruciferous vegetable soup seasoned with turmeric, black pepper, and a drizzle of olive oil would be a perfect way to enjoy the anti-inflammatory benefits before bed. A habit many of my patients have adopted with excellent results is preparing the famous golden milk before bed. The combination of plant-based milk with turmeric, black pepper, and a spoonful of honey not only provides turmeric's neuroprotective compounds, but also helps improve sleep quality, a common problem in Parkinson's. Another important aspect to consider is meal distribution. People with Parkinson's often benefit from smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day. This not only facilitates digestion, which can be compromised in the disease, but also helps maintain more stable energy levels and reduce fatigue, another common symptom. It's important to emphasize that while these foods offer significant benefits, they don't replace Parkinson's medication. Rather, they should be viewed as complementary, helping to enhance the effects of medication and possibly delay the need for frequent dose increases. Some of my patients have been able to stabilize their levodopa doses for longer periods after incorporating these foods into their daily diets. For those with motor difficulties that make food preparation a challenge, some practical strategies include dedicating 1 day a week to frozen meals in individual portions, using food processors to make chopping and blending easier, and opting for pre-cut versions of vegetables available in many supermarkets. Also remember that small, consistent changes are more valuable than radical dietary changes. Now that you know these 6 powerful foods and how they can help protect your brain against the progression of Parkinson's, the decision is in your hands. Small daily dietary changes may seem simple, but together they build a path to greater independence, quality of life, and hope. Remember, it's not about seeking a miracle cure, but about giving your body and mind the best tools to face the challenges of Parkinson's more easily. Every meal can be an opportunity to strengthen your body and slow the progression of symptoms. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who's also facing this struggle. Often, information like this can completely change the way we view the disease. And don't forget, here on the channel Beyond Parkinson, you will never be alone. We are on this journey together. Click the subscribe button, activate the bell to receive our next videos, and leave a comment with which of these foods you plan to include in your routine starting today. Until the next video, and remember, even when faced with Parkinson's, there is always something we can do to live with more strength, dignity, and hope.